Hey folks, you might wonder what I'm doing. I'm blackening my braided line. I'm putting a magic marker and I'm fishing the braided line because I'm fishing hydrilla. And today I'm going to talk about hydrilla. That in the water is hydrilla. You can see it right here. That strings of hydrilla. And bass are suspended in that grass. They love hydrilla. That's a really good way of doing it. So I'm going to show you a couple ways of fishing worms, particularly Senko worms, in the hydrilla. One way is the Wacky rig. Hey, that's a good way for the summertime heat. That's a real good way. That's a Wacky rig right there. That's with an O-ring, and that's with a weedless hook, and that's with a little 1/8 ounce tungsten weight. That's one way to fish, and that's braided line. That's 15-pound test braided line. Okay, the other way, this is my standard D. You see me fishing Senkos a lot. Hey, this is the #1 Senko in the whole world. That's the 297 green pumpkin Senko. It's just the killer color. It's the 5-inch size. It's perfect. I have an 1/8 of an ounce weight on it. And again, I'm fishing it on 30-pound test braid. I've blackened the line. Okay, let's start off with the standard Senko. You just have to master the Senko. This Senko is the deal. This catches more fish than anything else. Make a nice cast up to that edge. Okay, let it sink. Remember, I have a small little front weight on there. Now, the first thing you got to think about in worm fishing is keeping a high rod so you can feel the fish, and you can feel the grass in this case. I'm just kind of twitching it along. See how I'm just kind of twitching it through the hydrilla? I'm hitting hydrilla, kind of twitching it along. Oh, just twitching it along. Okay, I'm just going to get comfortable, keeping the high rod. Now, I'm not ready to set the hook yet, so I'm not really ready for that. Just twitch it along. Huh. Didn't get one. Well, you don't get them every cast. I'm just trying to show you some technique. This is a really good technique. And see, today we're talking about hydrilla. And it could be peppergrass. Any kind of underwater weed would work in this situation. So in all the northern tier states, you have good weed growth all over the place. And so again, this would be a good setup for Michigan or Minnesota or something like that, where you have deep aquatic weeds down to say 15 feet of water. Okay, if it's deeper, then maybe I'll put a little bit more weight on. But this is about 4 or 5 feet deep. I'm going to throw out to the edge of that hydrilla. I'm going to pull it through the hydrilla, drop it on the edge. Now it's going down the edge of the hydrilla. Okay, just kind of pull along. Strike. Okay, I got him. Did you notice what I did? I had my rod high. And when I got the strike, well, I stood up to set the hook, but I dropped my rod down, and then I set the hook. But I got the rod down low to start with, and that's important. You had to get the rod low. The whole thing is I want to get the thing quickly done because I don't want them to swallow this thing. And so that's a big consideration. He didn't swallow it, but he's kind of in a place where I'm going to have to take the pliers and get a pair of pliers on there. Okay, nice little bass. Now, putting a 297 green pumpkin on. Come through the head of the worm about a ½ inch or so. Work the worm right up on the shoulder of that EWG hook, and then bury the point in. And I can kind of skin hook it too. And I have a bobber stop on here. And a bobber stop kind of holds the weight for one reason or other. It kind of holds the weight from moving up and down the line. And this heavy grass is kind of important because you don't want it all moving up and down the line. Now I'm looking also, and there's holes in this grass, and I'm dropping it in the holes too. That's just another kind of part of it. A lot of times I'll throw to that thicker stuff. See that thicker hydrilla right there? I threw to it and I'm kind of moving it on the top, and then I get to the edge and I'll drop it down. That should be a kind of an edge of heavy hydrilla, I'm thinking. There's one. I'll set the hook again, a little one. But he was right on the edge of that hydrilla. See, that's the importance of having a weight. You need a small amount of weight on there so that you can drop it into the holes. And that worked. Not much of a bass. We'll catch some big bass, of course. You know, the biggest bass I ever caught in Florida was a big, giant 14-pound bass I caught on this very same worm. Years ago, I was throwing in a little pit over by Naples. This is another kind of dugout pit here in the Everglades. But anyway, there's a lot of little lakes and stuff that they use the fill for construction. And that's what we're fishing right now, a little old pit full of rocks and deeper water. Throw it to that edge. Boy, you get some big ones doing this. Now remember, I got 30-pound braid, so I can horse them out of there somewhat. 30-pound braid helps. Now sometimes in this scattered hydrilla, you can kind of swim it along. You can kind of just make a long cast and just kind of, I'm swimming it along, I'm kind of dropping in that hole there. Nothing happened. Kind of come along with it. Drop it into that little hole. Nothing happened. Swim it along over top the grass, drop it into that little hole. Nothing happened. Be a line watcher. Now that's the other thing. That's not only do I hold a rod high to have sensitivity, but I'm watching that line. I got good polarized sunglasses on to the flying fisherman model, and I can see the line good. And I can see the braid. I actually see the braid better than I can regular monofilament. You might ask why I'm using braid. Well, number one, there's some big fish in this hydrilla. You need some heavy line. That's the first thing. But braid kind of cuts through it better than, say, monofilament or even fluorocarbon. Braid cuts through the grass better. It kind of saws its way through, and you can break it through. A great big bass gets on it and it just rips right through there. Kind of cuts it through there. There's a strike. Okay. I don't know how big he is. He's a bigger fish. Oh yeah. Much better fish. Maybe he's not alone. Maybe we got another fish or two in there. Let's see how big. He's a pretty good one. He's not bad. He's not bad. And I hit him pretty quick. I shouldn't have hooked him very deep. Maybe there's another fish there. Okay. Nice deal. There we go. Nice little couple pound bass. Okay. Now, you know, here I want to show you a little trick. You know, these things are expensive. A pack of 10 costs about $7 or $8. So when you tear up this side, say this end is all torn up, that's a trick, and I've done YouTubes on it, is to cut off just a little teeny bit of that worm. Not much, just a little 1/4 of an inch, if that. Now both ends look about the same. Come through the tail. Now I'm tail hooking it the same way as I head hooked it. You know what? I can't tell the difference. I don't know that this fish can tell the difference. I catch just about as many tail hooking it as I do front hooking it. So, but you get twice as much time out of a worm now. Okay, let's see what happens. Make another cast. See what happens. Maybe there's more than one fish there. I'm gonna drop the Senko real quick. Oh, I got one. Big, nice bass, nice bass. Told you there was fish in this corner. Good fish. Good fish in the corner. Good fish in the corner. Okay. You know, now that I've caught this one, and that's a fair fish, let me just show you another way. Ow, ow. Big old 3 or 4 pounders are hard to get off. Let me show you another way to worm fish in the hydrilla. It's a really, really good, that's a quality bass though. Okay, let's put this worm rod up just for a second. Let me show you my Wacky rig. You know, in the hot summertime, sometimes that Wacky rig is really, really important. This is a favorite rod again. This is a 15-pound test braid. The braid is straight on to the weedless hook, and I've blackened the line a little bit with a black magic marker, and I've got a little bobber stop to keep that weight from sliding up and down the line. A little O-ring. If you notice, there's a little O-ring on the worm itself, and that helps hold it on. Okay, this is so cool. Sometimes they really get going on this thing. We'll find out. Make a nice long cast. Didn't catch him there. Any size to him. I think he might be pretty good. Better than I thought. Little old Senko, little old Wacky rig fish. Catch a lot of fish on a Wacky rig. Once they get to hitting this thing, it's game on. They really get crazy on this thing. They do really good. I got an O-ring dispenser for putting these things on. Let me just show you what it is. It's a, let me take the O-ring off the hook real quick, and I'll just take the O-ring off the hook and I'll put it back on this thing. Okay. Then I'm gonna take one of these and slide it up the shaft. Okay. Then I take a worm and I put the worm inside the tube, and then slide the O-ring off. Say right there, kind of in the middle, and put this back in my pocket. Take the weedless hook underneath a little bit into the worm, a little bit under the O-ring. Hey, we're ready to go. Now, if you look at it in the water, watch this thing. Look how it goes. It's so cool. It really looks crazy. And it falls, if you notice how when it falls, it just goes straight down. It just kind of vibrates its way down. It's really got a neat fall. Now see, it's gotten real still and real calm, and so those conditions are kind of tough sometime in the summertime. Very hot, but that's when this Wacky rig sometimes really pays off. And here's another thing to think about. Let's think about the sun for a second. Let's think about the fact that bass have a non-eyelided eye. They can't just hide anywhere. And so let's think about the edges of right now. It would seem to me at a little bit of sun angle, those edges that are facing this way would have a little shade on them. So I'm going to drop this Wacky rig right on the shade of those edges of Hydrilla, and that might hold a fish or two. Again, you have to realize that this is pretty clear water, and the fish, even though we're 9 feet of water right here, they can look up pretty far and see stuff. There's a strike. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's a good one. Now you're talking. Now we're talking, son. And now we're talking. Hey, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Oh, son. Big old bass. I'm talking about a big one. I told you those wacky rigs can pay off, son. I'm gonna have to loosen my drag up. That's a big one. Look at the size of him. Oh yeah. Nice big 5 or 6 pounder. That's what we're talking about. Big old wacky rig fish. I told you the hot summertime, water temperature is 90 degrees. Big old bass are fighting the Senkos, fighting the wacky rig. Big old nice beautiful bass. Now, that's what we're talking about on a wacky rig. A nice quality fish like that. Woo, son. That's what we're talking about. And that, I had to loosen my drag up. Hey, that was a pretty solid fish. In fact, he straightened the hook out a little teeny bit. Ooh, that was a bass. Now, since that was a bass, watch this. He might just hit right there on the edge of that. I got him. That was so cool. He's big too. He's real big. He's a good one. Yes, sir. That was so cool watching him and threw right by that bush. Hey, what you think, folks? Big old 4 or 5 pounders. I'm telling you what, folks, it's been a deal. Well, I tell you, you can see right now, there's a real advantage with wacky rig fishing. A couple really big fish a bit, and that's what it's all about. Nice big adult sized fish like that one. Anyway, you can see that there's a couple of important things to talk about. You know, braid is a big deal. Coloring the line is a big deal. Coloring the worm itself is a big deal. So let me just say it's been a lot of fun working with you guys. You know, I post every Wednesday at about 6 o'clock, and also I post every Sunday at about 6 o'clock, and I just want to show you something, if I can. I read all your comments. When you make a comment, let's just go to the Facebook for a second. Not Facebook, but YouTube. And let's look at some comments. Well, it says right here on the show, and I can't half read it because the thing's too dark. John Paul, anyway, he's talking about current. When there's current present, you know, what's the best thing to throw? Well, the other day I was back in the Everglades and I was fishing current, and I was throwing topwater and catching them really good, and I was throwing a regular plastic worm in the current. So anytime you find current, hey, that's a bonanza deal. Another comment, oh, he just says, hey, you're the GOAT, greatest of all times. I mean, he did a lot of acclimates. I'll read all the comments and I'll do thumbs up, and I'll just have a real big time doing that. But I do answer about 10% of them. I read them all. So keep the comments coming. And it gives me good ideas on what to do next. And so I've enjoyed teaching you a thing or two if it helped. And subscribe. We'll see you again soon. Thanks.